One of the most distinctive voices in music returns with her fourth studio album. Does it soar like her majestic voice, or does it crash like her trademark percussion? My review of High as Hope by Florence and the Machine is coming up next on Track by Track. Hey everybody, my name's Kyle, and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Thanks for tuning in today, and if this is your first time here, please take a second to click subscribe so that you won't miss future reviews and more. It's hard to believe Florence and the Machine have been part of the musical landscape for only 9 years now. With their debut album in 2009, Lungs made Florence Welch's voice instantly iconic, and as if the voice wasn't enough, it was backed by a unique new kind of music that was at once ethereal and tribal. The resulting soundscape was nothing short of spectacular, creating what, in my opinion, was both one of the best albums of the year as well as one of the best debuts I'd heard in years. 2 years later, the sophomore album Ceremonials was released and accomplished the remarkable feat of matching, if not exceeding, the sheer magic of their auspicious debut. That album also helped to solidify the Florence and the Machine formula into something that feels almost proprietary at this point, something wholly unique and one of a kind. There's simply nothing else that sounds like this. You will never wonder the answer to the question, is this Florence and the Machine? You'll always just know. The sound is unmistakable. So while the first two albums had me thinking of Florence Welch almost like some kind of mythical goddess, the third album struck me a little like a fall from grace. Now, make no mistake, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful was a very good album, but it didn't manage to reach the truly incredible heights of Lungs and Ceremonials. It seemed to suggest that Florence Welch was perhaps mortal after all. 3 years later, Florence and the Machine have returned with their fourth album, titled High as Hope. Leading up to the release, Welch has expressed in interviews how the new album would be a bit of a departure from their usual sound. Now, I'll admit I was a little concerned hearing that, but I was certainly willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now that I've heard the album, I'm not sure if it's good news or bad news, but High as Hope strikes me as being as much the trademark sound of Florence and the Machine as anything they've done before. Now, that's not to say that it's in any way derivative of the first three albums, but at the same time, I don't think that they've strayed as far away from the formula as Welch may have implied. Take the single Hunger, for example. This is a song that is nearly as elegantly bombastic as anything Florence and the Machine has done before. Now, granted, that may be partially by design, as this is definitely the most radio-ready track on the album. Still, it's a great track that also helps to establish one of the recurring themes on High as Hope, which is basically getting older. Or perhaps more to the point, maturing. On Hunger, Welch reminisces about the freedom of youth and the quest to fill those empty spaces in our lives, and how, while the nature of those empty spaces may evolve with age, we all still have a hunger. Welch examines that hunger from a different perspective on Big God, a heartbreaking breakup song that shows how even when we're older and wiser, we still let our emotions get the best of us. She sings, "Though I know I should know better, well, I can make this worse." As the song ends, we can kind of hear things falling apart as delicate flutes and saxophones trade notes against the backdrop of Welch's underlying guttural moan. Welch spends time looking back at her youth on several tracks on High as Hope. In fact, South London Forever is a song that sounds like it could have fit right in on the most recent Lord album. But there's a maturity in the storytelling here that young singer is still years away from developing. Then, on the beautiful piano ballad Grace, an ode to her younger sister, Welch laments about how badly she used to behave, even as her sister stood by her all along. It's a gorgeous piece of storytelling that at first reminded me of Joni Mitchell. Certainly an admirable artist to be compared to. But I also hear a lot of the intimate confessional style of Alanis Morissette on this song. What's interesting to me about that is it makes complete sense that at 31 years old, a singer like Florence Welch might be influenced by Morissette, who would have been near her peak of popularity during Welch's teen years. I've never thought about Alanis Morissette being an influence on younger artists before now, and while I don't know for sure that that was the case here, I have a feeling it might have been. But there's no mystery about the musical influence on the song Patricia. Well, lyrically at least. It's a song that represents Welch's tribute to the iconic Patti Smith. "You've always been my North Star," she sings. Now, you won't really hear Patti Smith's influence in the music itself. It's far from the more punk-tinged sound that Smith pioneered back in the 70s. That's especially the case on the song's bridge, which I have to say is one of the most out-of-character moments on the entire album. It's a bit of a stumble, in my opinion, with sonic textures that just don't seem to gel within the context of the song or on the album as a whole. But those kinds of musical low points, so to speak, are few and far between. Patricia is immediately followed by 100 Years, a song built around rhythmic interplay between the piano and the percussion. I love the contrast of the super simple descending piano notes against the clap and stomp drumming. And on Skyful of Song, the bass takes the melodic lead to create a perfectly sparse and haunting soundtrack to accompany Welch's soaring layered vocals. And speaking of soaring vocals, the penultimate song on the album delivers perhaps one of the most majestic performances in the entire Florence and the Machine discography. The chorus on The End of Love is a true wow moment for sure. I often hear a bit of Kate Bush in Florence and the Machine, but never more so than on this gorgeous track. If you're thinking of Bush's amazing This Woman's Work, you're in the right ballpark. The End of Love reaches for similar heights and is unquestionably an album highlight. And how do you follow such a breathtaking moment? With the beautifully simple album closer, No Choir. The song opens with Welch singing the first two lines completely a cappella. As the song builds, it delivers on the promise of the title and the lyrics. There would be no grand choirs to sing, no chorus will come in, she sings simply. And as if to drive the point home, she brings the album to its conclusion with little more than a da-dee-da melody. It says everything while saying nothing, and is the perfect illustration of the lyric that actually begins the song. It's hard to write about being happy, because the older I get, I find that happiness is an extremely uneventful subject. Truth be told, though, she's had a lot to say on High as Hope. From the opening track, June, an apparent tribute to both Pride Month and to the victims of the 2016 Pulse nightclub shootings, to the slightly older and slightly wiser storytelling on songs like Grace and South London Forever, Florence and the Machine have grown a lot in terms of their songwriting. The influence of some of rock's greatest female songwriters is readily apparent, from the name-dropped Patti Smith to Joni Mitchell to Kate Bush and Carly Simon. Florence Welch is continuing to develop her own unique voice and build the foundation of what will become her musical legacy. And while this latest album doesn't hit the monumental peaks of Lungs or Ceremonials, I don't think that's what they were really striving for. Instead, what we get is a strong musical statement from a singer and her band that are maturing and settling into their rightful place among today's most pioneering artists. Years from now, I'm excited to hear what future artists will take away from their influence. As for my rating, I'm a little bit on the fence here. I don't think that this album will be as revered as their first two, but I do think it represents a solid step forward from How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. In the end, though, I'm going to sway more favorably with my opinion, based in no small part on how truly unique this band remains in today's musical landscape. So, I'm giving High as Hope by Florence and the Machine an X rating of 8 out of 10. Although Florence Welch may not be the goddess we thought she might be from her first two albums, she makes a strong case here that she may still be an immortal. Once again, my name's Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Plus, check out some of these other videos below that I think you might also enjoy. And of course, be sure to subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.